Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome to the discussion for Dark Souls, the board game. Now, like I said, I have played this with Kat, Ying, and Luke, all of which have been in most of my videos. Ying is obviously the Asian, Luke is the guy with the sweet braided ponytail and the beard, and Kat is Kat, my girlfriend. So I'm gonna tell you what they said after I talk about what I think. I have mixed feelings about this game. I'm honestly not sure where to start. So I guess I will answer the question, is this Dark Souls, the video game, in board game form? No, not at all. This is literally it is the only thing that this and the board game or in the video game have in common is that it's hard, and foregoing the theme obviously, is that it's hard. Obviously, the boss fights didn't look it, but there were times in the fight where you saw me. I had to use my SS spikes. Otherwise, even if they hit me with 1 damage or 2 damage, I would have died. And that's pretty much how this game works. So no, this is not anything like the video game, and here's why. The biggest reason, how they seem to compensate for the number of players is based off of sparks. I mentioned that a little bit. You didn't really get to see it because I didn't do any of the grinding. But that's another thing you have to grind. But in this game, it has a spark dial, which basically means how many times you can go back and rest. And that is probably the biggest disconnect that I have with this, because I'm not a huge fan of the video games. I like the world, I love the lore, but hard for the sake of being hard doesn't do it for me. Having to go out and find this story doesn't do it for me. But I understand why people would like it. Now, anyway, that spark dial, if you have 4 people, you only can rest twice. And I think technically, yeah, you can only rest or lose twice. Because how the players lose the game is that if they die or rest at the bonfire when there are 0 sparks remaining. So whenever you go about, how you gain your souls is at 4 players, actually 2, 3, or 4 players, you start out with 0 souls. Every game there's a bonfire tile and 4 other tiles. And if you win, and each tile is an encounter. And it's just 1 card, it stays the same each time. So every time you rest, the encounter card gets flipped over for some reason. But then you flip it back over, monsters go exactly where they go, and you redo the whole thing. And that's why I didn't want to show that, because that is boring as hell to watch. It's boring as hell to do in the board or in the video game. So after you beat a tile, you get 2 souls per player. So in a 4-player game, you get 8 souls per tile. If you do all 4 tiles, you're going to get 32 souls. And that's not 32 souls per person, that's 32 souls per the party. So you have to look at what items you get, which you have to willingly go back to the bonfire, and rest, which knocks that spark down. So now if you have 2 in a 4-player game, you only now have 1 time. If you guys lose, it goes down. So you can go there and spend souls to look for treasure, which you may find treasure. It's possible that every tile could have a treasure chest, which gives you 2 things that go in your inventory. So you can go there, look at your souls, look at what you have in your inventory, and be like, okay, we're going to upgrade you, and you to this level, spend these souls so you can wield these weapons. So it's possible that one person could get jacked up to hold everything while everyone else is weak, and it's very much possible that everyone could get a little bit of something. Here's the problem with that. Whenever you have to willingly go back and rest, that takes some of your time down whenever everything kind of... Now these dice... okay, I may get to the dice in a sec. I should just say it now. I actually like these dice. The probability of you actually doing relatively well on your attacks and your defense and stuff like that, it is pretty high. Like the black die has only 1 miss. It is possible to whiff. That everything has resistance, so at least you do get a hit. It's just sometimes the enemy's defense is higher. So I really like that. I really like that they didn't make this game hard just because the dice, like, oh, the black die only has one hit, and the orange die just doesn't hit, like some bullshit like that. Like, if you're rolling two of the orange dice, you could roll 8 damage, plus any upgrades and shit. So, so having that disconnect of the spark, having to go back and willingly rest, which knocks it down, which means, oh shit, we can't do this all the time, that kind of ruins the game, and it's very boring to actually play to reset it, because you have to reset everything up. And so, at least in the video game, whenever you rest, you rest it and you go. You level up and then you go, and then you just slaughter everyone, or you can run past people. Here, you can't do that. You cannot run from an encounter, so you have to fight, and you have to fight. Even if you have everything you want to, and you're like, we want to go fight the boss, or we want to go fight the mini-boss, you have to trudge through each unexplored tile. I mean, if you have beaten them, then you can just run right past them. But it's like, just the setup and takedown doesn't compensate for that. But I think there's a house rule. I'm wondering if it breaks the game. And Luke had mentioned this, was that what happens if you take away the spark dial? The players can get rid of that. They can grind as much as they want to make sure that they're ready to fight the main bosses or the mini boss. And he said, well, because your treasure chests don't reset, so you're gonna get what you get out of those, and then you can pay a soul to draw a card from the treasure deck. And he's like, well, if that was the case, then you could literally just hop back and forth, and there's no consequences to whatever you do. And so you could literally siphon through the treasure deck until you get exactly what you want, and then it probably makes the main boss and mini boss too easy. I'm like, okay, that's fair. So my idea is that you only lose a spark, and it, like I said, in a 4-player game you get 2 chances. Technically 3. I think if you have 0, you get to go again, but if you can't rest, and if you die, you lose. I can't remember. So I'm like, okay, so what if you only knock the spark down whenever you lose? Not if you willingly go back. Well, I guess that's pretty much the same thing. Well, no, because you could still have a chance of losing. So, and see, you understand my problem with the fact it's like, okay, so it bothers me a lot. I don't hate it, but it bothers me because on top of you only have 2 rounds to willingly rest and or die, and then you have to knock it down. And then you have to go out and retrieve your souls, so then you can't really go back, collect your souls, and then go back and rest. I mean, I guess it's balanced, but it's not balanced in the way that I like it. Because if you lessen the people, then you don't get as many souls per encounter, but you also don't have as many people to upgrade. But with the spark and everything, all souls and everything, hinges on the randomness of the treasure deck. And here's the cool thing, that in my unboxing, the treasure deck everything is different, and that is fantastic. I think that's amazing. The fact that every single card is different, does something different, and I mean, sometimes you can draw something at the beginning of the game and be like, hey, I can already wield this, and that's great. The way it works with upgrades and all that, that's fantastic. But it can screw you or benefit you. Think of magic. Think of it like mana. You could only ever draw cards that you don't have enough souls to wield, so you can never ever upgrade. And that's a possibility. And it's like, okay, what the fuck are we doing this for? Now granted, sorry, you can upgrade some people. Like the chances of you drawing only cards that you don't have enough souls to get anything is slim to none, because you can kill the scrubs with your basic weapons. It's going to be a little bit harder, but it is possible. We did it. I've played this with myself. I've played it controlling 2 people, and I've played it with 4. I've not done it with 3. I imagine it's the same. But, so it's like, okay, so it's impossible really that no one can get anything, but if you're playing with 4 people, it doesn't hurt the fact that, okay, we only have items that only the Herald can use, because there are specific items that only each class can use. And it's like, alright, that's kind of cool. It kind of, personalizes them a little bit. There's way more common items. So it's like, okay, well, we got, like you could draw all Herald, and it's like, all right, well, let's just pump our stuff in it, but that leaves everyone else shitty, and whenever it comes down to it, you lose an encounter when one person dies. So in a 4-player game, if one person dies, you all start over, and that makes no sense, and here's why. And a typical encounter, you saw it in the boss, it was no different. It went every enemy, then one player. 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 And that is extremely unbalanced. That makes me feel like Descent when all the heroes got to go and then the boss got to go for one massive turn and he was way better, or the Overlord. That is so unfair, because if one person dies, like the program, like the enemies are all programmed to act a certain way. So if someone's the aggro and they all attack the aggro person, then that person could easily die, and you're like, well, I'm glad we didn't upgrade him, or anything like that. It's ridiculous. Like, and I can't think of a way to make that part any better. Like, it can't go threat level of the enemy, because it's like, okay, well, if it went highest to lowest threat, then you just start targeting the one with the weakest threat. So it's like, oh, they're gonna attack next. Okay, let's kill them. It makes no sense to me. Like, I don't know how they thought. Like, was that the way to make this game hard? Because you saw it with these two, with Ornstein and Smog. You saw it with them. They both went, and then, oh, well, okay, the knight had the first player marker, so the knight's going first. Okay, they both go, and then the warrior goes. And I understand that you're supposed to maneuver yourself around so they can't hit you. Well, with the way these nodes work, it doesn't work like that. You can't. Most people don't have a lot of range, so they have to be up close, which means if they're attacking the nearest person, it's going to be the person in their same space. And honestly, every person should have been like this. Like, I love the fact that the bosses have that the nodes or the areas, because then it's like, oh shit, let's maneuver around him and attack him while he's weak. You can't do that with the scrubs. They will always hit you, almost always hit you. Yes, you can dodge and you get out of the way, or they'll push you and then they'll get out of the way. But it's like, not a lot of people can dodge, and the only person that can dodge is the assassin. The assassin actually at one point was rolling 3 evade dice, so your chances of, evading are way higher, and that's what the assassin was meant to do. That was fun. But the fact that they all get to go and then only one, it's like fine, they all get to go and target some people, then we all get to go, or something like that. And that's why I feel this game is better with less people. Like, I actually played this by myself, just one person, because in a 1-player game, you start out with 16 souls. So maybe a way to balance the stupid spark is, okay, with 2 people, it's 14 souls. With 3 people, it's 8 souls. And with 4 people, it's 4. Something like that, to where you start out with a little bit of something, and it makes it a little bit easier to level up. Like, because, for example, like I said, I grinded and I did everything, and just showed you the mini bosses fight. Well, I got extremely lucky with my treasure draws, because obviously I only had the cards in for these. I had enough to level them up, and I drew their cards, for treasure chests, and then paying for it, and level them up to where I was able to get great items, which probably made it seem like the Gargoyle and Ornstein and Smog were easy, which, I mean, I hardly ever took damage, so it's like, is the game balanced? I don't think so, and maybe that's the point. Like, the video game isn't balanced, but as you level up over and over and over, and you grind over and over and over and over, it becomes more and more in your favor. But, I mean, you guys saw, like, I was, like, you can get really good die rolls. I was getting really good die rolls. I was taking some damage, but it's like, I don't know. I don't hate this game. I don't like the spark, and I don't like the encounter. The fact that each enemy gets to go, and then one of us goes. Because then, I mean, it does bring a different element of strategy, because then you got to think of who has the threat marker, or who's closest. So you can, I mean, it's all open knowledge. You can look at like the scrubs and how they're going to attack, so you can plan accordingly and just stay back, and they're going to move. And maybe we didn't do that. Maybe we didn't do that well enough. So we can be like, oh, they're all going to move. Well, we did it pretty well. We did it with the ranged people, or the people that were like, okay, well, we're going to move, and then that means that these guys are going to come after him, and he doesn't have any damage or stamina, so that's fine. So we did it well enough, and it made it a little bit better. Also, the fact to each encounter, if you survive, you completely clean your stamina health bar. Which, I gotta say, I actually really love that mechanic. I think it brings a huge element of strategy. If you guys didn't really get to see it, you guys pretty much only saw the Knight and the Warrior pictures. But you only have 10 slots for your stamina cubes and your damage cubes. If that bar, so there's only 10, if that ever gets filled up, you die. So you really have to think of, okay, how badly do I want to attack this person and exert myself to possibly, most likely, dish out more damage, which could kill him, and then he won't attack me? Or do I want to play it safe and wait for a more opportune moment to attack? And then if you take some damage, you're like, okay, because there was a time where we were like, okay, this person is going to hit you. He most likely will do damage, so you should dodge. And we're like, no, you can't dodge, because then that makes it even more difficult. Like, it makes it even more risky, because a dodge is an all or nothing. If you succeed the dodge, you don't take any damage. If you fail, you take all the damage. At least when you try to defend, you can negate some of it. But a dodge also costs a stamina, so if you're really close, if you could survive taking 3 damage, like if you're like, okay, 3 damage, and I'd be fine. But you're like, okay, well, it'd be really close, so I'm going to try and dodge it. Well, now that reduces how much damage you could take by 2 to 1, or to 2. By 1 to 2, because you've now added a stamina. Now you heal stamina each turn. You heal 2 stamina each turn unless you have items that do a little bit more. There are healing spells you can do. The Herald has their ability, allows everyone to heal 2 stamina. But sometimes, because damage almost always stays, it's your stamina that goes back and forth. So at the end of each encounter, you lose all of it. And I think that's really awesome. That bar is really cool. So it kind of makes the all enemies go, then one person goes a little bit better. But in the sense of a board game, having everyone wait for their turn longer than they really should is actually really boring. Which brings me to my next point. Grinding is one of the reasons why I hate the video game. The video game, I don't like to grind. I don't think that's fun. It's a chore. Deck building and constructing a deck for a game to just play it, that's a chore to me. Grinding is a chore. You have to grind to be good. It's not any level of skill, it's just how much time do you have. And it's like, God, fighting the same enemies over and over and over. They do the same thing over and over and over, all to get to the really, really exciting and fun boss battles. Now, whenever we were playing in a 4-player game, we didn't get to the boss. We didn't get to the boss, we didn't get to the mini-boss or the main boss, because they were pretty much tapped out, because all we did was grind. And they didn't want to do it, they didn't feel it. So I was like, fine, I'm going to do this by myself, and then I'll play the whole game and just show them, the boss fights. And I completely understand. The boss fights are what everyone wants this game for. God. Everyone wants this game to fight Ornstein and Smaug. Everyone wants this game to fight the Dancer of the Boreal Valley. No one, or I guess there's the Titanite Demon, which is the mini-boss, and there's the Winged Knight, which is the mini-boss. There's more mini-bosses in here. The only main bosses are these 2 and the Dancer of the Boreal Valley. Everyone wants to play this game, not to fucking grind, it's to fight these guys. But unfortunately, to fight these guys and have a chance instead of being pissed off because you suck, because it's unbalanced, that's not a fun experience. So the souls are weird. Gathering souls, you have to grind, but you can't grind enough because of the spark value, which is why I think at a 1-player game, you start with 16 souls, and you get 5 sparks, which I found was actually more than enough. Granted, you only get 2 souls per encounter, so you're only getting max of 8 souls, but it's only you that is actually going to be upgrading, so that's way more, like, that ratio is way better. Okay, so there was that. There was the slots, I like them. I really like the fact that armor can have as many upgrades. Well, I don't know if this is the video game at all. Weapons can only hold, or can hold, 0 to 2 upgrades, and they go under it, so it's very nice. It's organized very well. But swords, or weapons can only hold upgrades, and they can't be removed. Armor can remove their upgrades. I don't know why they thought that. I don't know if that's the video game or what, but I don't know. But I really like the board. I like the leveling system whenever you can level up, and yeah, I mean, every person has their own ability that you can only use once. You guys got to see me use the Warriors, which I think was a good opportune time to use it. You get 1 reroll. Another thing, because I know this isn't the case, you only get, and I get it, it's supposed to be a mini scaled down version of the game, but if you're going to make it as hard to get souls and as hard to rest and stuff like that, I get that you kind of get an Ember, or an Ember Flask, an Estus Flask at the end of each encounter if you survive, so maybe, I guess that's kind of a mute complaint, that you only get 1 Estus Flask, but I guess, should you compare this to the video game? No. Theme is really all there is that you can compare this to the video game. And a lot of people are going to be expecting this to mimic the video game. And I think that that's a bad idea because that's going to ruin it for a lot of people. Because, no, it's not the video game. It's not as smooth. It's not as fluid. It's not as fun. Because of setup time. To fight a mini boss, you guys saw me, it was 1 board. You have the whole thing set up. You have to remove all that. I guess technically you can put the board on top of it, but the rules say that remove it and place the mini boss board here, and then you fight on it. Then you have to set everything back up. Really, that's so monotonous to actually do. And then the main boss is the mini boss tile and the main boss tile, and so yeah, that's that. Now. What do I think of the rules? The rule book is weird, and by weird I mean it's like it goes a weird way of explaining things. Like it's broken up into sections. It doesn't inherently say what a round is or what a spark is pretty much what it's called. It just kind of starts explaining random things. So you have your game components, and then it goes straight into setup. Alright, cool. Then it starts explaining the tiles and nodes, and then characters. It's like a if this had a, oh it does. It does have a table of contents. But yeah, it's like a table of contents. Then it goes to equipment, then the bonfire tile and what you can do there, and then encounter setup, and then encounters, and then combat, and then character activations, then enemy activations, and boss encounters, and this there were a lot of times where I was like, I'm pretty sure I read that, but I cannot find it. It's very weird. It's not a fluid rulebook. Now the back is actually very, very helpful to show you what all the icons mean, enemy movement. This makes sense. The rules kind of don't. I was sitting here like, what? How the bosses work? And then you can go to boss encounters, but it's like just text. And I'm like, okay, so where what's that mean? There were a lot of times it didn't answer questions that we had, like for example, does Smog go from 30 to 45 if you don't damage him, if Ornstein dies? Or the other way around, Ornstein gains 10 health if Smog dies. So it's like, okay, does that mean they get 10 extra health? Like on top of what they normally would have? So should Smog have had 45 instead of 30? Or like I said, what if he was at 10? And then Ornstein died, then does he go up to 25? It's like, I don't know. It doesn't explain stuff like that. The rules tell you how to play in a very disorganized way, and then and then just kind of leave it at that. They don't really answer any questions on how does pushing actually work. If I jump in, do I choose which one? Like, because pushing, you didn't. Oh, you guys kind of got to see it. But each node can hold 3 people, or 3 models, except bosses. So if you have 3 scrubs and I jump in, do I choose which one moves out? It goes back. Same way back. I don't know. It doesn't really explain it, and if it does, it doesn't explain it in like a clear way. So the rule book is not terrible. I have had worse rule books. It would not make my top 10 worst rule books. Let me say that, but it's not the best. There are conditions, I should say. I'm just seeing that because I saw it now. There are 4 bleed, poison, frostbite, and stagger. But none of that seemed really worth it to me because there were some items like a Kokiri, I think, dealt no damage, but it gave bleed. Didn't cost any stamina, and bleed. When a model that has a bleed token suffers damage, it suffers 2 additional damage, and then it goes away. The bleed token goes away. So it's like, was that worth it? Now, I will say it was very fun for each of the 4 characters we built ourselves a different way. The Knight is built to be a tank. He just sits there, and you saw him take minimal to no damage. The Warrior was meant to dish out a lot of damage, which he did, and take a little bit in return. The Herald is meant to heal and have a lot of ranged attacks, and the Assassin, the Assassin is meant to dodge and get to the weak spots, or to maneuver around the board. And so you can build them that way. But there's no Sorcerer, there's none of those. But I think there's a lot of stretch goals. Now, what do I think of the bosses and the mini-boss encounters? From not just doing the grinding, which I did again, but by just doing the grinding when I first played it, to pretty much focusing on the bosses, obviously the boss fights are way better. I actually think it's a very, very smart way to do boss encounters. I really like the fact that each boss and mini-boss has their own deck of cards that you shuffle, and the main bosses seem to have just enough. Like, they have 5 cards, but the mini bosses seem to have, I think they had 5 cards, but you removed 1. So it's always going to be a little bit different. You shuffle it before they start, and then it stays like a static deck. You flip it over, it's going to do these same 5 cards in the same order every single time until they die or until you die. And I think that's brilliant. I think that's very tactful to sit here and be like, okay, because I knew, you saw it, that I was like, okay, the next one is going to be that jumping bullshit move, or was it the electric bonsai drop? I was like, that's his strongest move, it's going to hit everywhere around him, I need to kill him before that happens, because I don't think my warrior will survive that attack. And so I think that's really, really cool. I like the fact, and my favorite part about it is that, but right after is the arc. It took a little bit to get used to. I wasn't sure, because some of them, some of the cards actually require them to turn 90 degrees as well. But at first that's the only way I thought they moved, so I thought they were just static the entire time. Fuck it. The entire time, just like, oh, I only face one way. But I did find out later on that whoever they're targeting before they move, they turn and they move towards them. And so I think it's really cool. I had a lot of fun doing the gargoyle. I had a lot of fun fighting the Ornstein and Smog. By far, as in the video game, the boss fights are the best part about this game. Now, I'm trying to think of anything else. The game does seem very complicated whenever you first break it out. It's like, oh my god, what is all this? What are all these icons? But then, like, everyone caught on. It was, and I mean, pretty much, okay, he moves forward once and he pushes. Or he pushes, then he moves forward, and then he's moving towards the person that is closest. It makes sense. The arc thing was kind of hard to get used to. It was like, so does he hit those people in behind him? Why is he weak behind him with the tail? And so it doesn't inherently say what's the front and what's the back, which is annoying unless it's in a diagram that I missed, which I don't think is the case. It's not. It's just, I mean, if you're looking at it, it's like, okay, yes, on him that's the front, that's what's behind him is the back. But how is it on the card? Stuff like that. So that's what the rulebook fails to answer. And let's see. Oh, these dials are shit. I kind of like them in my unboxing. I'm gonna explain here. They put the numbers like they're not. They didn't put them like all on the edge to where it's red. It put basically you can't really see it, but it's like 23 is here, then 24 is here, and then it goes like that. It goes in a zigzag pattern down the dial, but it doesn't leave enough space for each number to be its own number. So it's like whenever you are reading it, it shows like I can see 21, 20, and 19, but 21 and 19 are cut off. So I'm like, I guess it's 20. Like that's just shit. Like make enough room on your damn dials to make it eligible or legible. In a game that's based heavily on die rolls, everything is based on die rolls. I actually had a lot of fun. I was like, there were times where I was like, fucking die rolls, but it wasn't Arcadia Quest or wasn't Time Stories. Like it was very rarely that I was like, damn. But there are times where you make risk and you're like, and it pays off like it did in here, where I was like, I need to dodge, otherwise he'll die. And I did. I successfully dodged. And I was dishing out a lot of damage. So if you can plan well or get lucky enough in your treasure deck to get enough for your people, then you'll have a fun time. Okay. Now, what is my scale on a scale of 1 to 10 for this game? Honestly, I'm probably going to have to give it a 6 out of 10. And the reason why is because, like, this game has about as much as I like out of it and as much as I don't like out of it. So, originally that'd be a 5. Luke gave it a 5. He's like, there's things in here that I really like and there's things in here that I really hate. His complaints with it were the spark and the turn order, and the fact that the rulebook didn't explain a whole lot. Pretty much the same problems that I have. Ying and Kat were pretty much the same. Kat gave it a 4. She didn't like the fact that it was inherently hard just for the sake of being hard. And Ying gave it a 5 for the same reasons. He didn't like the fact that it's just grinding and that's boring. I'm gonna give it a little bit. I give it a little bit higher because I'm gonna keep it. And I did have a lot of fun fighting these bosses, and it does give me a sense of wanting more, which I will be getting in October. All the stretch goals for this game will be coming out in October, and there's a shit ton of them. They're adding summons, like people that you can summon to aid you in fighting. They're adding, what do they call them? God damn it. I can't think of it, but like, I just had it. They have, God damn it. The people who can come in and fight you. The visitors, I guess. God damn it, I'm so mad. Invaders. They're adding invaders. I'll actually tell you everything I'm getting. For Kickstarter backers, we're getting a cleric, a pyromancer, a thief, a mercenary, a sorcerer, and a deprived, so a character expansion. It's adding the pursuer, Sir Alone, Silver Knight Lancers, and the Bomb Hollows. Adding treasure chest icons or minis, barrel minis, gravestone minis, and bonfire minis instead of the dial. The Iron Keep expansion, adding the Smelter Demon, Ironclad Soldiers, Alone Sword Knights, Alone Knight Captains, Mimics, oh fuck, Mimic Crystal Lizards, and Alone Bow Knights. An Armor Set expansion, Adventurer Set, Golden Hem Black Set, Black Knight Set, Dark Set, Black Iron Set, Set of Favor, Katarina Set, Crimson Set, Guard Set, or Guardian Set, and Havel's Set. Invaders expansion, so I think these are people who they actually base these invaders off of. Paladin Leroy, yes. Armorer Dennis, Oliver the Collector, Fencer Sharon, Maldron the Assassin, Melinda the Butcher, Xanthus King Jeremiah, and Maneater Mildred. Oh, Kirk, Knight of the Thorns. Summon expansion, Sellsword Lute, Horus the Hushed, Witch Beatrice, Swordmaster Saber, Sirius of the Sunless Realm, Aegon of Kirim, Segward of Katarina, and Ruin Alphys. Oh, and Lucatiel of Mira. And since we got everything, we got Solaire of Astoria. So, that's a lot of shit that I'm getting for, I think, a $90 pledge or something like that. So the base game isn't enough. I don't think it's enough, so that's why it's a 6. all that stuff, summons, invaders, more main bosses, armors, all that stuff could potentially bump it up to a 7 or 8. Only if I'm playing by myself. I would give this actually probably a 4 or 5. Probably a 4 as is, a 5 with all that stuff with more people. I had way more fun playing this by myself, being able to upgrade, even controlling more people. But I actually really liked playing as one character and grinding, like it is in the base game. And if they add summons, you can play this as a solo game and then get summons like you can in the video game. I think that's way better. With 4 people, grinding is not fun. You're doing the same thing over and over for a few hours. It says 90 to 120 minutes. By yourself, I can see that. More people, hell no. So that's a fucking lie. So 7 or 8 with all the stuff, solo. As of right now, it's a 6. Like, Ornstein and Smog are fun, but you have to get lucky in your cards. Otherwise, like, what's the point? So that's it. That's all I got. Like, this game, I guess I should answer, is it balanced? Inherently, yes. If the treasure deck wasn't so random, then I'd say it's a little bit more balanced. But overall, I think I did well, but I got lucky in draws, and you get more sparks to try and get some shit. So, yes, I think I got lucky. Now, I need to say this. I really do need to say this. Like, I don't hate this game. I do like it. I would not really recommend it to anyone, even especially Dark Souls fans. No, this is not for you. Like, because you're gonna hate it, especially if you're a huge fan. Because none of this is like the game. That's true. For the casual gamer, no. For a low hardcore gamer, maybe. But all the stuff I'm getting, I'm still really excited for. Now, I need to say this. The Dice Tower did a review over this game. And I avidly watched the Dice Tower. I like them a lot. I've never met them. I spoke to Tom through Board Game Geek. And look, he answered my question. He was very helpful. So I have nothing but respect for those guys. But don't take their review to heart because they have, one, never played the video game. So they can't draw that frame of reference of what this game was aiming to be. Yes, it's hard, and it needs to be hard because the video game is fucking hard. And two, they have these weird notions on, like, and everyone has their taste, and I completely understand that. But I don't believe you should review a game solely on your personal taste. If you know you're not going to like it, don't review it and trash on it the whole time because they were like, I don't like dark games, so this game is complete gutter shit. Like I knew they weren't going to like it, and they still reviewed it anyway because it's like, yeah, you're not going to like it. So, I mean, if you agree with them, then you're not going to like this game. But if you are looking at mechanics and theme and all of it together, not just one thing, all of it together, then that's how you should review a game. So I just had to say that. Other than that, yeah, that's all I got. That's all I can think of. I feel like I've talked way too much, but I think I've covered everything. So 6 out of 10 with all the stuff. It'll most likely be high 7, maybe an 8 out of 10. I'll probably do a no run-through review for all those expansions when I finally get them. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed. If you've played this game, let me know what you think of it in the comments below. Or if you agree or disagree with what I said, let me know also in the comments below. I will debate, not argue. But other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you want to support us, you can go ahead and click that link to go to my Patreon account. If you have any suggestions, you can go ahead and click the link in the show notes below to go to my Board Game Geek list. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.